front of the Nevada State Legislature. They are going to be giving a press conference here very soon and making a major announcement. We will hear from the GOP chairman as he makes his way over here. People behind us right now setting up on the table some of the papers that they're going to talk about and some of the points they're going to make. I assume this will be a very interesting day as people across the country cast their electoral votes for President of the United States. And you can see working feverishly here to get things together. You can expect this to happen any moment. RSBN did travel out here yesterday. It's Brian Glenn and Philip Trino are live on the scene. Traveled all the way from Washington, D.C. out here to Nevada today to bring this coverage to you. So as it happens, we will bring it to you and we will come forward. And, we are here. This is something that RSBN has promised to do, to bring you live uninterrupted coverage of the most important events regarding our president and things that are happening within the conservative world. And that's what we exist for. We are here for it. And obviously it is not an easy thing to do. And we are almost 100% viewer funded. And it is because of people like you that we're able to get to events like this and bring you coverage of these things. There's a few ways you can donate. You can donate in our YouTube super chat, or you can go to rsbnetwork.com/donate via credit card on there. And then on our website as well, you can find the address to our Alabama office if you'd like to send a donation in via the mail. Brian and I are working here today by ourselves. Brian's actually working the camera. He's behind the camera, bringing you that nice steady live shot that you're seeing of the electors here getting ready to cast their votes. And I can imagine what we're going to see here is probably some support for the president. And I know the president appreciates it in the midst of the times that we're in and how everybody has seemed to turn their back on him, and very few have continued to support him. But here at RSBN, we will continue to support the president in all of his efforts and all of his ventures as we go through this. Obviously, there have been claims of quite a lot of things, and we've seen it across the country. You saw we were covering this weekend in Washington, D.C., the Jericho March and the March for Trump, where patriots from all around the country were coming together to show their support for the president. It's also important to note that Washington, D.C. wasn't the only place that these events were happening. It was happening in grassroots movements across the entire country. People were coming together to show their support for the president. Again, if you're just joining us, we are here at the state legislature in Nevada, and we will see what happens. We are expecting to hear from the GOP chairman here in the state and some state electors, and seen some congressional candidates here who are coming out to show their support for the president. This is super casual today. There really isn't any formal media here set up.
Yeah, Philip, it's interesting, as we've seen this morning all over social media, various states around the country are doing exactly what's happening right now. You're just seeing another example of the people, the legislators. This is justice. This is what you're seeing is the electoral process. We've always wanted every legal vote to be counted. One person, one vote. And that's exactly what we're going to see here today.
Yeah, absolutely. That has been a battle cry across the country to make sure that every single legal vote is counted, because there has been some speculation around, what's happening here in Nevada. I want to go ahead and bring in my friend here. You're here today. You're viewing what's going on. What is your outlook for what's going to happen here today?
Well, we believe President Trump won Nevada, and we're going to be prepared just in case, once this works its way through courts or whatever remedies the President Trump comes up with and his team. And we're going to have our electors present on January 6th, I believe, for Vice President Pence. So this happened in 1960 for John F. Kennedy in Hawaii, if everybody remembers. And Hawaii had the foresight to send in their electors, and that's why he was able to become our president in 1960.
Of course.
We want to make sure that ours are in too, just in case, because we believe that President Trump won Nevada. Once all of the voter fraud is all worked out, we think he's going to still be our president.
that seems to be the sentiment of a lot of people around the country, and we certainly hope so here at RSBN. And
We're doing our part.
yes, we are. And, you know, not only this, but in other things like marches, they're happening organized all across the country to make sure that there's been fair elections in this country, because I've heard it said that if we don't have fair elections now, we never will.
And we want everybody in America to stay out, let their voices be heard. That's critically important for everybody to hear that's going to decide these things. If 80 million of us stay out and stay engaged, just like in Washington a couple of days ago, a lot of people showed up for that. A lot of people will show up for this a little later. And that's what we need. We need everybody to understand that we're not backing down. We're going to keep fighting. And like you said, if we don't have fair elections, we've lost our republic.
Absolutely, that's something super important, and that certainly has been the sentiment. So I think we might go ahead and start here extremely quickly, and I'm going to go ahead and drop the mic right here.
I have a pen, thank you.
Perfect. Jim, you've got yours. I've got mine. We've got yours. You want the pen? Down there. This is a dumb one.
Sorry, Mr. Trump, I didn't get the pen fast enough. We couldn't make it happen for you.
You see me laugh? We take our masks off.
All right, on three, everybody say 12th Amendment, baby. Yeah.
12th Amendment, baby.
Woo! Oh, very happy. Doing our duty.
That's true.
We're making history. Thank you guys.
All right, let's get Brzezinski and Marchand in shot 2 before we call it to order.
Oh yeah, could you guys join us, Joe and Jim?
Jim, come on, hurry up. Come on. Let's get a photo before we get started with the
Our high
alternates as
priority
well.
alternates here.
All right. Okay, I took my mask off, guys.
All right.
All right.
There he goes.
Always
right.
getting the selfies, man.
Here we go.
You can get
Let's go.
for that.
All right. You have your agenda, sir.
Righto.
Who's doing the pledge? Jim, you want to make the call?
Have Sean lead us in the pledge because he has Air Force.
All right. And who's leading us in the prayer?
It's in the car.
Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Electorals College for Nevada. I'd like to first call for an invocation. Wes Rice.
If you'll join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful Nevada day. Thank you for the rain. Thank you for the snow. Thank you for the liquid to quench our parched land. We're here today to cast our Republican votes for Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. We're here because we don't feel that this was an election that was run as elections should be run. We pray, Lord, that you will bless our efforts, protect this country, and God bless Donald J. Trump. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Sean Meehan, veteran Sean Meehan.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in paying respect to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
All right, I'll call the roll if you like. Michael J. McDonald.
Here.
James DeGraffenried, I am present. Durward James Hindle III.
Here.
Jesse Law.
Present.
Sean Meehan.
Present.
Eileen Rice.
Present.
Alternate electors, Joseph Brzezinski.
Here.
James Marchand.
Here.
And I believe no other alternates are present. Is anyone present as an elector or an alternate whose name I did not call? Hearing none. Then next order of business will be the election of the Electoral College Chairman.
Want the oath?
Yes, sir.
Jesse Law with the oath, please.
Would you guys please rise and raise your right hand and repeat after me? Do each of you solemnly swear to affirm that you will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Nevada, and that you will discharge the duties of your office with fidelity? If so, please say, I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Law. Next election of the delegation chairman. Any nominations?
I move that Michael McDonald be named as delegation chairman.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Election delegation secretary. I nominate James DeGraffenreid.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is filling of vacancies.
Mr. Chairman, as secretary, I can report that 6 electors are present and we have no vacancies at this time to fill.
Thank you very much. Balloting for the President of the United States.
Electors, you will find in your packet 6 ballots. Nevada presidential elector, official ballot for President of the United States. You should write in your choice for President of the United States, and then you should sign your name where indicated on the ballot. Do that 6 times, and then we will turn those in to the secretary. If you are voting for Mr. Trump, that is Donald J. Trump. Yes, yes it did.
Extras?
No, you just also have Vice President.
Vice President picks up at some point in the packet.
Yeah, let me see
So
what
stop
you
signing when you get to the end of President.
There you go.
Yeah, you're good. There you go. That's for right now. You gotta do that part. Hold on. You gotta call the next.
Oh, my bad. Call the roll.
Not yet. Mr. Law,
Mr. Law?
your ballots. Mr. Meehan, your ballots. Mr. McDonald, your ballots. Very good. All right, Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida, having received 6 electoral votes, is declared the winner of the electoral votes for the state of Nevada. We will now do the certification of the votes of the electors from Nevada for president. Certificate reads that we, the undersigned, being the duly elected and qualified electors for President and Vice President of the United States of America from the state of Nevada, do hereby certify the following. We convened and organized at the state capitol in Carson City, Nevada, on the 14th day of December 2020 to perform the duties enjoined upon us, that being so assembled and duly organized, we proceeded to vote by ballot, balloted first for President and then for Vice President. Name of the person voted for is Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida. He received 6 votes. And we will sign this certificate that will go to the Senate and also to the Archivist of the United States.
Right on. Use the same pen. Ms. Rice?
Nope, I've got mine.
Okay.
Which is blue?
Getting cold.
All right, electors, that is 6 votes certified for President Donald J. Trump. Mr. Chairman, we are on to the next item of business, order business 10. Call of the roll for
Call
the
the
Vice
roll.
President. Okay. We will again call the roll of who is President to do the balloting for Vice President of the United States. Michael J. McDonald.
Here.
James DeGraffenreid is present. Gerbert James Hindle III.
Here.
Jesse Law.
Present.
Sean Meehan.
Present.
Eileen Rice.
Here.
Let the record show that all electors are present for the balloting of Vice President of the United States. I believe we do have alternates still. Do we have Joe Brzezinski still?
Yes.
And James Marchant?
Present.
Excellent. So now back to you, Mr. Chairman, for balloting for Vice President.
Mr. Law?
All right, electors, same as before. You have 6 ballots. Put in who you were voting for. If you were going to vote for Mr. Pence, it should be Michael R. Pence. And then sign your name on the 6 ballots, turn them into the secretary. What's starting to snow?
Glad you're doing the job in the snow.
I know,
Because we're not allowed in the people's house.
my signature looks a little sloppy because my hands are so cold.
All right. Eileen, thank you. Mr. Hindle, thank you.
Cold.
Chairman McDonald, thank you.
So it sounded like you said Airman McDonald.
Mr. Meehan, Airman Meehan. And Mr. Law, thank you. All right.
Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
There were 6 votes received for Michael R. Pence of the state of Indiana. So as we did for the president, we will now certify the vote for Michael R. Pence of the state of Indiana, having received 6 votes. Chairman?
Cold easy anyway.
Keeps you awake.
Yeah.
Constitution and
Going word of that time.
Sign again.
airplanes and the Constitution. I do live for this stuff. It's in my blood.
Okay.
I don't know how that happened.
Eileen?
Well done, brother.
Well, congratulations. Excellent.
Bumping the table there. There you go.
Sorry. Jesse?
I'm not warmed up, but maybe I
Mr.
can
Hindle? Eileen?
see the anthem just to kick it off. Shadow me before I talk to me.
All right. So 6 votes for Donald J. Trump and 6 votes for Michael R. Pence having been certified by the electors of Nevada. We will send these ballots and the certification of same as directed to the President of the Senate by registered mail, to the Archivist of the United States by registered mail. Copies will also be sent to the Secretary of the State of Nevada, the Chief Judge of the U.S. District Court in Nevada. Any questions from any of the electors?
No, sir.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Before we adjourn, I would like, and it's only fitting, Jesse Loth, you sing the national anthem just before we leave.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good. Thank you, Jesse. No further business. I'd like to adjourn this meeting. I thank all of you for doing this. The fight continues. We have a lot further to go. Make sure we don't have Nevada's ballots and voting rights stolen as they were in this election. We have a lot further way to go. We're in it for the long haul. I think you know for a fact that our president and vice president feel the same way. This cannot take place in America. It's disgusting what went on. We're almost like a third world country right now. No one will cover what has happened. We have dead people that have voted in this election. We have people that have voted 3 or 4 times. Unauthorized signatures. We have a reporter himself from the Review Journal that casted 8 ballots. 8 to prove his point. We have a failed system. And this legislature not only let it happen, they made it happen. We can make sure that never happens again.
Here, here.
We need to call everybody to light. We need to pull the corruption out of the darkness into the light. And moving forward, once our attorneys allow us, we intend to post on our website continually the corruption that we have found. This is something we're not going to bury. Regardless of where we move from this day forward, we can never let this happen again in Nevada. This is about not Republicans, this is not about Democrats, this is not about independents. This is about Nevadans. I was born and raised here. I love this state. I would die for this state. It's disgusting what has taken place. It's going to take all of us in a long, long haul to make sure this never happens again. With that, I call this meeting to adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well said.
Well, you just saw it here. The GOP in Nevada has certified their ballots for Donald J. Trump for president and Michael Pence for vice president of the United States. They have cast their ballots and they declared Donald Trump the winner of Nevada. And it's 6 electoral votes here in the state. Certainly history happening here. And certainly history happening here, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And as we heard earlier, this made a difference early on during the Kennedy election, and we certainly believe it will make a difference right here, right now. Going to go ahead and move around a little bit so that you can see just kind of what's happening. Everybody's shaking hands, congratulating each other. Certainly a big moment in history here as people come together, uphold their constitutional duty to make sure that every legal vote is counted and every illegal vote is thrown away.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're seeing here is historic. And of course, we've talked about this, the possibility for months. We knew it would come down here. We were here in the city just months ago for a rally. We saw the huge support this president has in this state. And we've been in Bullhead City, Arizona, right across the border from here. And we've also seen a lot of support for this president. So at this point, here it is. This is where we're at. You know, it's 2020. So we kind of felt like we might be here at this point in junction. But once again, we're in front of the Nevada State Legislature, as you just witnessed, the electoral votes being officially cast for Donald J. Trump. Let's see if we can go around, Philip. See if we can go and get some words from some of our legislators here.
Yep. Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and move around here if the cord is long enough and it will let me. I just want to go ahead and, if I could, real quick. Everyone seems to be busy. Everyone's having a conversation. Is there any chance I could grab a quick interview with you here from Right Side Broadcasting? Obviously, you have a lot of responsibility as the GOP chairman here in the state. Could you go ahead and share with us a little bit about your sentiment? Obviously, it took a lot to get the electors to come together and do that. This is certainly history in the making. Who do you have to thank for that, and what's the process in all that?
Well, I'd like to. We have to thank literally our executive board, Jesse Law, who was in charge of election day operation here in the state of Nevada, our elected officials that have stood with us. The major thing right now is, look, and I mean this in the whole heart of me. I was born and raised here. This is not about Republicans or Democrats. They literally stole votes from us. They manufactured votes. This should never happen in America, regardless of Nevada. This is discussing what took place, and we have to make sure we show all the evidence, that the common person can sit at home and go, wow, how can they ever let this happen? When we start putting this on our website and showing that we have proof where dead people have voted, how much is enough corruption? You know, they're saying, oh, it wasn't that bad. One's too many, but they're allowing this all to happen. And I can tell you from the sentiment that I represent, Democrats in my district as well, the same thing has happened. Guys, you cannot let this happen. They don't like what happened. So it's an important message that this leadership from the Nevada Republican Party and leadership from Jesse Law during the campaign has been phenomenal, but we couldn't do it without our elected officials, and we want to thank them and make sure they knew.
Absolutely. The mainstream media keeps saying that Republicans are peddling another conspiracy theory, saying that this evidence of voter fraud isn't real. To that, you say what?
Well, it is, and that's the problem I have is that they're not following up on it. We intend to give it to law enforcement. I mean, we were given a very short time in order to produce evidence. We did it without any help of law enforcement whatsoever. We don't have the powers of subpoenas. We don't have the power of law enforcement behind us. We intend to give this evidence to the law enforcement, respective law enforcement, the evidence we have. But more importantly, we're going to put it on our website. The American people have to be able to see. If you live in Nevada or if you live in Texas, you have to be able to see the corruption that took place here in Nevada.
And for the people who are wondering what that website is so that all our viewers can go on there and see, could you share the website with us?
Sure, it's NevadaGOP.org. Nevada spelled out, GOP.org.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you for your patriotism. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Well, folks, I guess that about wraps it up here. Is everything has been certified. Donald J. Trump has been declared the winner, and he's getting the 6 electoral votes, along with the Vice President Mike Pence, President Donald J. Trump, and Mike Pence winning the 6 electoral votes here in Nevada. Truly a historical moment. This is something that could not have been done. Our partners are super helpful in making all this happen and getting us out here. And a true patriot, just like all the folks who are out here. Mike Lindell, he makes this all possible. MyPillow, you can go to mypillow.com, use promo code RSBN, receive up to 66% off your entire order when you shop online at mypillow.com. Again, that's code RSBN. They have the Giza Dream Sheets, the MyPillow, the dog beds, the MyPillow towels. Really a lot of stuff on there, and you're going to get huge discounts when you use promo code RSBN. I want to go ahead and segue over here real quick for one last interview before we wrap it up here in front of the Nevada State Legislature. Sir, thank you so much for being out here today. We really appreciate your patriotism. Share with us why you felt compelled to sign off as an elector for President Trump.
Well, President Trump won this state. If you look at all of the fraud that we proved, by the way, we uncovered through the court process, we actually had subpoenaed DMV records of non-citizens, 6,500 of which were registered to vote illegally due to the motor voter program that was passed into law just a year and a half ago. And of those, 3,960 votes were cast and counted. Now, we have a lot of close races in the state where that margin right there would impact absolutely, but that's just one of the universes. Easily a dozen people who voted 2 times. And, I think I heard our chairman earlier on here discussing we didn't have any police or investigative authority or any of those kinds of resources. But worse than that, we didn't even have a deadline. So when we went to court and we had judges looking at evidence and saying, gosh, there's just not enough here to prove. Well, what we found was our rights for due process were absolutely violated because in 4 weeks, how are we supposed to actually get that kind of proof without any cooperation from our Attorney General, from our Secretary of State, from any of the election officials? So, yeah, this is a broken system. And, yeah, our president, he won Nevada, and we're here to fight for that.
Of course, and the evidence of voter fraud is real. We have seen it in every single state. In the swing states, there's been overwhelming evidence. People on sworn testimony, sworn affidavits, under penalty of perjury, still telling the truth, and then the media coming out and saying there's no evidence, even the courts saying no evidence. So do you think the courts have let you down in the state of Nevada?
Yeah, I was supremely disappointed with the legal process. I mean, basically, due to the tight timeline for certification, it's almost like the burden would be way too high for us to overcome that. So yeah, we were let down. We did have the opportunity to present the evidence. I don't know if you guys covered this, but we had 20 books, 8,000 pages of evidence that we were submitting, and that's everything from eyewitnesses with the post office who were told and directed to leave their mail in undeliverable addresses or leave mail for people who are deceased. And according to one witness in one of our statements, 50% of those ballots that he left to places he knew no one lived were picked back up. And that's just one example. We had easily 30 different witnesses in different categories. I know that with all the poll watchers who were dedicated, and I trained them and I helped deploy them for the campaign and for the party, these poor folks were absolutely denied the right to observe. We had one lady, a wonderful 79-year-old woman who's done this as her civic duty for 30 years, thanking people on the way out of voting, getting escorted off of the property to be kicked off by the police for saying thank you. And the problem was, that was rules for thee, but not for me. We had the other side, the other observers working in tandem with poll workers, taking video up and down the line, talking to voters about whatever, handing out food next to where you drop the ballot boxes, the whole nine, everything they could do to blur the lines and then some, and even break the law. And we have a 79-year-old woman who was escorted off property by police. It's disgraceful. And our elected officials absolutely know better. So when they feign any kind of outrage that this is not true or whatever, just know that they know in their hearts what they're doing is wrong. And so do the American people. So do people of Nevada.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your patriotism. Well, folks, that was quite historic moment. I have to keep saying it because that's what it is. It's, I think, something that all of us will remember witnessing for the rest of our lives as the Nevada State GOP came here and they cast their electors who cast their ballots for President Donald J. Trump and Mike Pence. That's about all for us here. Me and Brian Glenn behind the camera. Brian, you have any final words for anyone? He has no final words. Well, thank you so much for coming to join us live on RSBN. We will continue to bring you live, uninterrupted coverage as much as we can. Until next time, goodbye and God bless. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys coming all the way from Alabama.
Oh, we came from D.C.
Oh, I saw the tweet last night.